The store is ranking, so why does revenue still feel weak? Fair question, but this is where a lot of e-commerce brands get fooled. Traffic goes up, few keywords move, the dashboard looks busy. Very comforting dashboard, still weak sales. So what is going on? Usually it is not a traffic problem, it is a page problem. More specifically, the wrong page is winning. That is the trap. Because in e-commerce SEO, ranking is not the finish line. The page still has to do the right job. And a lot of brands blur those jobs. A product page starts ranking for a broad query. A blog post starts ranking for a buying term. A category page is too thin to help people compare. So the site gets seen, but the buyer still does not move. That is why SEO can feel busy while revenue still feels flat. And the clues show up fast. If bounce is above 70% and time on page is below 30 seconds, that often points to an intent problem. In simple words, people landed on the page and thought, not this, that is expensive. Because now the site did the hard part. It got the click and still lost the buyer. That is also why so many e-commerce brands over-focus on product pages. They feel close to the sale, so they get all the attention. But the research says category pages often drive 3 to 5 times more organic revenue than product pages. That should make you pause, because it means the page you care about most may not be the page doing the real SEO work. And that is where this series is going. The big takeaway is simple. If your store is ranking but sales still feel weak, do not start by asking, how do we get more traffic? Start by asking, is the right page winning? Because when the wrong page ranks, SEO looks busy, but business stays blurry. And here's the e-commerce SEO mistake a lot of brands make next. They overlove product pages. Fair, product pages feel important. They look close to the sale, so they get the effort. Better photos, better copy, more reviews, more badges, sometimes enough badges to start a small festival. And still, SEO growth feels slower than it should. Why? Because product pages are usually not the main scaling pages. Category pages are. That sounds strange at first, because product pages convert better per visit. True, but search does not only care about the final click, it also cares about how buyers search. And most buyers do not start with Nike Pegasus 41 size 10 black. They start with running shoes, office chairs, wireless earbuds, blue velvet sofas. That is category demand. And category pages are built for that job. They help people compare. They help people browse. They help Google understand what the page is really about. That is why strong category pages usually do the heavy lifting. The research puts it very clearly. Category pages can drive 3 to 5 times more organic revenue than product pages. That is not a small gap, that is a strategy gap. Strong brands know this well. Wayfair, Asos, Zappos, they do not treat category pages like basic shelves. They use clear H1s, strong grids, filter that makes sense, and useful copy that helps a buyer choose. That last part matters because a lot of weak category pages still feel like this: grid, 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 and hope. Very hardworking page, very lonely page. Now, compare that to a stronger setup. The page helps the buyer. Materials, sizing logic, price bands. What makes the range different? Related options. That is not filler, that is commercial SEO. And that is where a lot of brands get stuck. They keep asking, how do we rank more product pages? Better question, are our category pages good enough to deserve the demand? Because if the page that should scale is too thin, too vague, or too weak, the whole store feels smaller in search than it really is. So the takeaway is simple. Product pages still matter. Of course they do. But if your e-commerce SEO feels slow, do not start by obsessing over product pages. Start by looking at the pages buyer search first, because those are often the pages that grow revenue fast. And this is where a lot of e-commerce brands quietly lose money. Not because the site is broken, because the right pages do not exist. That is the problem. Most stores build homepage, category page, product pages, maybe a blog, and then they stop. Looks complete, still not complete, because buyers do not only search in broad categories, they search with filters, with modifiers, with intent like this. Summer dresses under $50, standing desk under $300, sectionals for small spaces. That is not random traffic, that is sharper demand. and those searchers usually need their own collection pages, not a generic category page doing all the work. That is where stores miss growth. The research says many e-commerce brands leave 40 to 75% of category level demand on the table. That is a huge gap, and it usually means the buyer searched well, the site just did not have the right page waiting. That is why collection pages matter. They sit between broad demand and product demand, closer to action, lower competition, cleaner intent, and when brands build them properly, the upside gets serious. One published case showed 103% more organic revenue in one quarter from collections expansion alone. Read that again, not from rewriting product pages, not from 10 more blog posts, from building the missing pages. That should make a lot of stores pause. And here's the interesting part. Sometimes the same products can live in multiple collections. Not because you're gaming SEO, because people search differently, by price, by style, by material, by use case. The same 20 products can become 5 to 10 different SEO surfaces when the intent changes. That is not duplication, that is coverage. If your broad category page and your collections page go after the same search, not your own site. Now, your own site is arguing with itself. Very passionate debate, very unhelpful outcome. So the takeaway is simple. If revenue feels stuck, do not just ask, do we need more traffic? Ask something better. What searches exist that still have no page? Because that is where a lot of hidden growth sits. Now, let's make this real. So far, we covered the wrong page winning, product pages getting too much attention, and the missing pages most stores never build. Fair. But what does this actually change in a real e-commerce campaign? A lot. And the first lesson was simple. The problem was not no content. The problem was not no products. And it was definitely not no effort. The real problem was this. The commercial pages were too weak, too little support, too little clarity, too little authority. Where it actually mattered, that was the bottleneck. So the work changed. Better keyword targeting, technical cleanup, stronger category pages, stronger revenue pages, and better support around the pages that were supposed to win. Not every page, the right pages. That matters, because that is where a lot of e-commerce SEO goes sideways. The team works hard, the site stays busy, the blogs keeps growing, and the pages closest to revenue still feel underpowered. That is not growth, that is drift. Once the page rules got clearer, the numbers moved. In one e-commerce campaign, website traffic grew by about 247%, and in a broader e-commerce shopping proof line, organic traffic grew 736%. Average ranking moved from 99 to 8. That is not a tiny lift, that is buried pages moving into real visibility and into real commercial territory. That is the point of the whole series. SEO gets expensive when the wrong pages do the hard work, and it gets powerful when the right pages do the right job. That is what strong e-commerce brands do. They let category pages do the scaling, collection pages capture sharper demand, content feed money pages, and product pages close the deal. That is the system. Not random content, not page overload, and not blind optimism that more traffic will somehow sort itself out. So if your store is ranking but revenue still feels weak, here's the real question. Are the right pages winning? Because that is what changed here. Not just the rankings, the right pages started doing the right job. And that is when SEO stopped feeling like activity and started feeling like revenue.